It is 8:30 a.m., July 23rd. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We'll start off with Marcy Menchaca from House of Faith to give us our prayer. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you guys so much for what you're doing for our community. Let's pray. Lord, you are good and you are faithful, you are holy and you are awesome. And I pray for every heart in this room to hear from you, God, wisdom for making San Angelo a thriving community, God. I know these decisions today are very important for the healing and the hope for our community, and so would you give them every bit of wisdom and discernment that they need. Thank you for who you are, and Lord, we know that San Angelo is such a special, special city, and would you just bless our city? Would you bless our leaders of our city? And would you really just, through their wisdom, take us to the next level of making San Angelo such an amazing place to live and be. In the mighty name of Jesus, amen.
We'll go ahead and move to the next item. Public comment. Issues or items that are not on the agenda may be raised by the public at this time. Citizens should speak from the podium, begin by stating their name, and limit remarks to less than 3 minutes. Board members may request that a discussed item be placed on a future agenda. The board takes public comment on all regular agenda items during the discussion of those items. Do we have anyone signed up, Nora? Okay, so we'll kind of flow through this. So we'll move into the regular agenda. Item A, consider a resolution approving a project in the amount not to exceed $1 million to provide affordable housing assistance for needed repairs to damage resulting from the July 4th, 2025 flooding for properties located within the designated flood area, the project to be administered by Galilee Community Development Corporation, providing repairs to housing eligible under 42 USC Section 12745 as approved in Section 505 Texas Local Government Code for a Type B Development Corporation, and authorizing the board president to negotiate and execute all related documents and recommending ratification by City Council. Presentation by Michael Dane.
Good morning. Michael Dane, Interim Economic Development Director. First item today is to consider creating a pool of funding associated with assistance for flood-damaged residential properties. Our issue here is, recall that in our rules, we have to approve a project and then provide a 60-day publication, public comment period. We want to get that clock ticking so that when our affordable housing folks say we're ready to start cutting checks, we're ready to go. And that's the purpose of moving the meeting forward today to this date, is we wanted to get that clock, that 60-day clock going. And so what we have today is the bare bones, but not the program specifics. So I'll go through these. We're going to start with $1 million. We don't have any idea if that's adequate or if we'll have to add more to it. That depends on what kind of demand Galilee brings to us and what kind of sentiment the board has about that activity. Galilee will be the point of contact and the administrator of the program. They'll actually create the program too. Galilee to coordinate the resources. I think the way Bob explained it was, we don't want to supplant what FEMA will pay for. We want to pay for things that nobody else will pay for. In addition to this, the city is working on a permit fee waiver for related properties, and we have plans to talk to Aaron about some sort of a prioritized or expedited process associated with these properties. We're going to have a weekly meeting with Galilee to, at least at first, to determine what, if anything, they need from staff and to tune up any agenda items that need to come to the board. And of course, the key is to start that 60-day time period. So there's not a lot of meat hanging on those bones. The key is to declare a fund, get the clock ticking, and then to come back to you at a later meeting with a little more substantive description and terms associated with how these funds would be used to assist for residential properties. Bob, I think that's really about it at this point.
The main intent was to try to get the 60-day period started with some amount of money. Now, if we don't need the $1 million, obviously it would go back into future projects or fund balance. But to put some amount there, because we do have to give public notice, has to be published in the newspaper, and it does have to have an amount. So we thought, well, if we do this, that gets the ball rolling on the 60-day period. From here on out, then the board can determine whatever guidelines we're going to need to follow. But this gets the ball rolling anyway.
Another thing, kind of a minor issue, but important, would be control, expenditure control. We don't have a plan right now, so there would be no expenditures until we have a board-approved plan. Depending on what we come up with, Brandon pointed out that we may need a contract amendment, and so we'll be jumping through those hoops. Again, today's objective is to establish this pool of resources and get that clock ticking. And Stephanie's here if you'd like to hear more from her about what she's seen and what she has in mind. Other than that, we would recommend approval.
Do you have any questions?
My only question, Mike, it sounds like this is really more of a formality than anything, that the details of this arrangement are going to be kind of worked through in the coming meetings. What items are critical in the 60-day notice period? Are there any aspects of this request that we cannot change after this meeting? If the initial funding we determine is too much or not enough, can we change it?
I think you could always reduce it. If you do increase it, we probably want to come back and have it approved like we're doing here. But
Okay.
yeah, you could definitely set terms to lower it.
And with that increased margin, that margin would be subject to a new 60-day clock.
Got it. Okay.
And I would say if it makes you comfortable, if you move to approve, you might move to approve with the stipulation that no expenditures occur until a future board meeting establishes an approved project scheme.
But even then, 60 days is the earliest
That's right.
that we could fund.
That's the earliest we could fund. However, with the assurance that this funding source was available, Stephanie could move without delay to begin lining up applicants and qualifying applicants who might receive help.
Is that 60-day rule not finessable in the case of emergency? That seems awfully slow for something that has got to be pretty pressing.
That's a great question.
I looked for disaster-related provisions in the code, and the only thing I can find, they had a specific provision for Hurricane Ike when it came out, and so unfortunately, no.
This is
not that I
a
found.
state rule?
Yeah, the Development Corporation Act.
If we got let's say we got into a jam where at the next regular meeting, August 13th, I believe, she said, I'm ready to go. We might find a way to authorize existing funding to be used for that and substitute this later on. I don't know. We'd have to jump through those hoops also. But that's the key, is to try to move, to borrow Tommy Hebert's phrase, try to move at the speed of business.
So there are other funding sources currently that she's able to utilize. So this would essentially be a contingency after the 60-day period, and we'll have 2 board meetings between now and then.
That's a good point, because I think one of the phrases we used in a conversation was we wanted to be the funder of last resort. We want to exhaust all those other funding sources and then utilize these funds. That does tend to push the demand out. And I think Matt's not with us today. I was kind of hoping he would be here. He would have something to say about what their strategy is for moving those funds along too, but.
It might not hurt, Michael, to let Stephanie come up and explain some of the other potential sources anyway of funding that may be available.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, that's loud. Some of the funding sources are the Area Foundation. We have a grant from them, but they're also still collecting money from foundations and stuff. We're trying to funnel everything through them, so not much is coming directly to our organization, but Matt's a great resource for us. We have about $230,000 already that's allocated towards this for funds. They're very open-ended, which is nice because Costa DC money will be restricted by affordable housing and stuff like that. And some people who fall just above that still can't replace, things in their homes. So that grant money gives us a little flexibility to work with some other higher income homes as well. But our goal right now is to start by getting some donations for materials. That's a big one. And getting our volunteers that are going to come in as well to do some of this work. So we're hoping to mix volunteers with a labor force that we have to pay, plus donated materials and paid materials to get all this going. We're hoping to start repairs in the next 2 weeks. So we will be moving this, and then this is going to have to come in at the end. So 60 days, I think we can work with it. We can kind of move some things around and then maybe go from there. But we do have access to some funds before this.
And Stephanie, with all of the hard work and research that you're doing, do you feel as if this dollar amount is adequate based on what you're seeing?
I'm optimistic that with some of the donations and the materials and the repair teams that we won't have to pay quite as much in labor, that we can at least do pretty good. We've got Samaritan's Purses coming in as well. They're going to do some things in this repair and stuff as far as some of the mobile homes. They have programs where they go through an application process and everything with them, but they'll take care of some replacement of mobile homes and possibly even rebuilding some homes, so along with some repairs. So I think when we put it all together, I think we should be pretty good. But until we actually get in to start the repairs, we don't know what it's going to look like.
We have any other questions, comments?
You mentioned affordable housing and some of the restrictions in place with these funds. What are the restrictions of these funds for use and recovery? Is that a Mike question?
Well,
Thank you.
Reminds me of an important point. I think there is approximately $183,000 of affordable housing money which has yet to be programmed. That would be utilized first. The rest of it would then come out of economic development monies. So I can't recite off the top of my head all the restrictions associated with affordable housing. We would have to, but we would comply with those restrictions as we move forward.
Okay.
So Mike, the 183 that you said has not been allocated, would that require board approval to utilize those funds?
We will execute a budget amendment on both sides, and to the extent that that requires board approval, we'll bring it to you. Either way, we'll be informing you about that, showing that created at some point in the financials. And there's another agenda item further down, that more agenda items were related to this activity that will result in budget amendments.
Okay. Future agenda item?
Pardon me?
Future agenda item?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Are there any other questions, comments? Entertain a motion one way or another.
Move to approve project in the amount of not to exceed $1 million to provide affordable housing assistance for needed repairs to damage resulting in the July 4th, 2025 flooding for the properties located in the designated flood area. So move.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Michael. With that, we'll move to item B. Consider a resolution approving a project in the amount not to exceed $1 million for damage repairs needed as a result of the July 4th, 2025 flooding to businesses located in the designated flood area. Businesses must be eligible under Section 501 and Section 505 Texas Local Government Code for Type B Development Corporation for the retention or creation of primary jobs, authorizing the board president to negotiate and execute all related documents, and recommending ratification by city council. Presentation by Mike Dane.
Morning, Michael Denny, Interim Economic Development Director. This is the same philosophy, same mindset as the residential side. We have businesses which have been affected. We have the same 60-day requirement to engage in an expenditure, to expend monies for a contract we've engaged in. So we want to get that clock ticking, create this pool. And we don't have an idea on this one, like the last one, if this will be adequate, if it will come anywhere near it, or if we'll need to add more to it. So it's the same thing. In essence, though, we will expend these monies consistent with the way we have to spend them on any other project. What this pool does is allows the clock to tick one time for the pool money, and then when we gauge, after the 60 days, once we engage in a contract, we could immediately, or subject to the terms of the contract, cut a check. And for businesses, we think that's going to be critical also. And so, again, we wanted to get Bob's clock ticking so that we could move as quickly as possible. We're going to get Michael up here in a minute to talk about what he has seen and what he's been doing. If you're ready for that, Michael, would you come?
I do have a quick question.
Sure.
I know that Galilee was the administrator for the housing funds. Is it the same with the business funds, or how are these going to be administered?
Just like we do any other budget item. It'll be a line item on there when Michael's got somebody ready to engage in contract terms. He'll hand it over to Bob and we'll handle it.
Okay,
The
so,
contract will come to the board for approval, just like anything else.
Got it.
The difference is, once we approve it and council ratifies it, our plan is that we could immediately execute the contract and not wait for that 60-day window to close.
okay,
Yeah. Other than that, we'd handle them much like a regular economic development incentive.
yeah,
It's going to require an agreement, board has to approve it. We just want to
Okay.
get a pot of money approved.
understand, thank you.
Morning.
Good morning. Michael Looney, Vice President of Economic Development with the San Angelo Chamber of Commerce. San Angelo Chamber of Commerce acts as a contractor partner to the COSA DC. Since the floods happened, we set to work immediately contacting first all manufacturers, fabricators, and industrial service companies. So that was really just going out. If we could get to them, every company, we would drive out, meet with them. Of course, in many cases, we just called them because they weren't able to see us. Most of the companies, we've called on 41 companies so far. Of the 41, 3 of them experienced what we would call catastrophic flooding. 2 of them experienced what we would call minor flooding, which they said they would handle on their own. There were 2 companies in particular that are fabrication services. These are industrial service companies. One is located in the county just outside the city limits. One is inside the city limits. Of note, both of these companies that were catastrophically impacted are right near low water crossings. So it made sense that we attack them first. We wanted to make sure that they were at least in the process of getting stabilized. Both companies have been making very good strides towards getting restabilized and getting their products back out the door. But it's been very stressful on these particularly 2 companies. All the other companies that we've contacted, we do have a database that we're keeping up to date hour by hour, have not experienced any troubles. One of the nice things is that through our manufacturing organization, which we like to speak of pretty frequently, the SARMA. We did put out an all-points bulletin to our SARMA members that other SARMA members weren't so fortunate, and those companies that were not impacted and could help have been helping by supplying equipment, which has been very useful. A lot of the equipment, oftentimes fabrication, press brakes, CNC machines, and welding equipment and forklifts were catastrophically damaged, rendered useless. I'd like to note that Wendland Manufacturing, Long Industries, and Miller Electric came immediately available to supply equipment to these companies that were impacted. So that was really a real force multiplier. What we've been doing also is working with the Small Business Development Center, particularly Desiree Johnson, and also spending time with the different agencies that are headquartered at the Transit Authority, and that is the TDEM, Texas Department of Emergency Management, FEMA representatives, SBA representatives, and SBDC representatives. And then we've also been directing resources that are private nonprofits like Samaritan's Purse, Team Rubicon, and Billy Graham Ministries. And these have been very useful in getting them boots on the ground out to the businesses that have been affected. So that's really the basics of where we are right now. We're continuing, and we've been doing this every day since the floods happened. We've pretty much put our other projects somewhat on hold, although we're keeping in contact with those projects as they progress. And we think that a program like this, augmenting some COSA DC funding for both residential and businesses, is a really good idea. One of the challenges is FEMA, for example, will deploy cash very quickly to affected personnel and businesses, but that's really basically just to create immediate stabilization. It does not mean that those funds are for a true accounting of all of the damage that was actually done. And so we totally support this kind of program. It's been difficult meeting with the companies that were impacted because it's not only the facilities and the equipment and their productivity, but it's also a lot of their employees. So as a second level, even if we call a company that did not sustain any damage, we're building a database, a sub-database of each company of their employees that were impacted. And so we're reaching out to those employees personally. And so I think the effort is going in the right direction. Right now, we're starting to see a more accurate accounting of the actual damage done. But it was important for us to get to the impacted manufacturers first for obvious reasons. If they can't export their products, if they can't fabricate and make their products and then get them exported, they could be dropped by their customers, to put it really bluntly. We do have some materials here, if after the meeting you'd be interested in looking at them or taking some of them with you. These are the leave-behinds that we've been taking to businesses that have very clear instructions on what the steps are. It's got QR codes so that they can download forms and they can fill them out on their phones or on their laptop immediately. And that gets them into the federal system so that they can be eligible for further support as they discover what kind of damages they actually incurred. We do have, I brought Darby Vaughn, who is the president and CEO of Permian Radiator. This is a company that makes very large industrial heat dissipation systems, radiators, for heavy industry. And he was very deeply impacted by the flood. They got up to 4 feet of water throughout their facility. And I don't know if it's necessary or appropriate, but if there were any questions of Darby, he could certainly answer those either now or after the meeting if you wanted to just visit with him and show our support. So that's basically where we are right now. Are there any questions?
You'd mentioned that you had contacted about 40 businesses.
Yes.
Can you ballpark the percentage of the total businesses that you think you've contacted that were impacted by the floods?
It was about 3% of the manufacturers. These are the NAICS code qualified companies, so it's not all businesses.
Yes.
We went after the manufacturers first, and now we've achieved contact with all of them, and now we're moving into
Okay.
retail type businesses.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd say so far probably at about 3%.
Okay.
And the flooding was very interesting. It was kind of like being in a tornado area where you'd have one business completely unscathed, and then next door, 50 feet away, total devastation. So we did get a really interesting experience on understanding the topography of San Angelo.
Yeah.
And it was very localized. Are there any other questions you might have? I think that our response has been good, and I'm really glad to see that this body is concerned. And we've been in contact with Michael Dane and Bob Schneeman and Nora Navarez really every couple of days as needed to make sure that we're doing all we can to support our local businesses.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Michael. Are there any other comments, questions?
You gonna talk about SBA? I can't hear.
That'd be great.
Dave Erickson, advisor for the Small Business Development Center of ASU, and filling in for Desiree Johnson, the director. She's out of town today. Just to reiterate, or just to go with what Michael said, Desiree and Michael have been working hand in hand, and Michael and his team have done a great job. One of the things we're doing, of course, is as people call us, we've been answering those questions and helping them with various resources. Also, Michael turned Desiree on to the floodplain, and in that floodplain, you can identify the businesses in that floodplain. And she's used that database to reach out to businesses in that plain and calling them. Also, our clients, Small Business Development Center clients, are located in there as well. So we're calling them and developing a database as well. So that go hand in hand with what Michael said that the SBDC is doing. So some overlap, but that's okay. Perfect.
Appreciate the information.
You bet. Yeah, you bet.
Any other comments, Michael?
Well, the key on this is we don't have a lot of new capability associated with. We got the door thrown wide open on a routine basis for anything we think is eligible. We want to get them in the door, and of course that's the case now. The extra effort that our partners are putting in recruiting and getting the information out is really the key. And for us, the key would be to start that clock ticking. So if we get somebody that's got an issue, we can cut a check with as little delay as possible. And so, again, with the same caveats associated with housing, on the business side, we may have to come back and ask for more money. On the other hand, we may close this out and have money left over, and the money would go back into, all this money is coming out of the economic development side. And anything that's left over go back into that future projects line on the financials. And
Mike, I know that a lot of the detail of these, the administration of these funds is going to be worked through in the next couple of months. Can you give us an idea? We've got a couple of regularly scheduled meetings, it looks like, in that time frame, one for August, one for September. Do you expect that we could discuss some of the detail of the administration of these funds in those meetings, or would we have a separate special meeting? How
we can do whatever you like. There's no change in the routine administration versus these. For example, if Dave and Mike put their best efforts out there and don't bring anybody new in, it'll be
Yes.
from that perspective, it'll be as if the flood didn't happen.
Yes.
And so we'll execute a budget amendment to create the pool, and then if we close it out, so if they bring a project in, it'll be the same as if they had brought that project in with no flood. We evaluate what the basis is for the request,
Okay.
what we see as community value and community priority, and we try to the extent we are able, expedite the bureaucracy, the administrative side. And so what could change is, like for this meeting, if in the next, we're going to have another meeting in 2 weeks, but if we need another one 2 weeks after that, we might ask for another meeting so that we can expedite those things. And to the extent that we bring something that requires council ratification, we might try to time those meetings so we can get it right immediately on a council agenda and get that ratification moving. So other than that, administration on the business side it should be business as usual.
Okay.
Just with the exception, we understand business activity crises to the extent we're able as employees, and we want to expedite whatever solution we are part of.
Okay. Would it be the same on the housing side?
On the housing side, because we have that essentially privatized, it'll be up to her to expedite in whatever fashion is necessary. And then we'll have to, depending on what program she proposes, we'll have to develop, if any, contract amendments to accommodate that.
Yeah. So, I mean, we already have a contract with Galilee to
Right.
administer the program. My idea would just be do an amendment to that adds a scope of work for this specific program and just make it as simple as possible, so.
Perfect. Okay.
To the extent that people can, this is terrible, to the extent that people can make their crisis conform to existing rules, we think we got it as lean as we can get it.
Yeah.
But we are open to helping conform our processes or procedures to help get them the assistance that the board wants to participate in.
Well, I know it's been touched on already. I can't remember exactly what your phrase was, but these were kind of last funds available.
Funder of last resort. or
Funder of
something
last
like that.
resort. So we understand, or I understand that there are other avenues and resources available, and we're hoping that those are utilized. We want these funds available if they need to be used, but if they don't need to be used, obviously we've got other projects that we'd like to have some money to put towards.
I think here at first, we see, possibly where we might need to help rehang some drywall, that kind of thing. But when we get down to the end and we're kind of done, we might have to think creatively about, is there a way to mitigate damage in a future event? In other words, do we need to help fund a stormwater pool in some particular location? I don't know. And I don't know if that would be legal to the extent that it's a quality of life or it provides. We can do infrastructure work to the extent that infrastructure provides for a business project to be accomplished. But that's down the road.
Yeah.
So on this, we recommend approval of the $1 million pool, and it'll be subject to the same rules. We're just trying to expedite timing.
And to repeat what you had mentioned earlier, there will be weekly meetings with staff and all of these folks that you have mentioned.
That's a great point. We're thinking about weekly meetings with staff and chamber, and so far, Steve and Rick want to be part of those meetings. Sorry, it's early. and Carlos want to be part of those meetings so that they know what's going on. I anticipate that would smooth out, and the weekly meeting part of it would be become unnecessary, but we'll do it to the extent till we get there.
So there'll be quite a bit of oversight.
That's great.
during this process.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
I'll make a motion and we're ready.
I'll second.
Got a motion to approve, seconded by Director Stribling. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we do have no public comment, so motion passes. We'll go ahead and move into item C, consider authorizing the temporary use of available space in the Business Resource Center located at 69 North Chadbourne Street, San Angelo, Texas, by the U.S. Small Business Administration and other emergency response organizations providing emergency response to the July 4th, 2025 flood emergency at no cost to the using organizations, and authorizing the board president or interim director of economic development to negotiate and execute all related documents. Presentation, Mike.
Good morning. On a routine basis at the BRC, we allow partner organizations to use space without charge or fee. We consider SBA a partner organization. We want to let them use space. Typically, though, it's related to event or series of events. We're unsure about how long SBA is going to be here, so we have authorized them to use space. But in the event they may need to be there longer, we don't have the authority as staff to allow that. And so that's what this item is. Dave is here and ready to talk to you about what SBA's planning to do, what they're doing, and what they have in mind, if you'd like to hear about that. On a routine basis, we will probably come back in the future with an item to allow staff to authorize this kind of thing up until the next scheduled board meeting, so that we can get some money and get them working, and then come to the board for a longer term agreement. Dave, would you like to?
Thank you, Michael. Just for filling again, Dave Erickson, advisor for the ASU SBDC. The SBA, the reason why the SBDC is connected with the SBA is nationwide, the SBDC program gets their federal funding from the SBA. And we work under their auspices, their guidelines to operate the SBDC program. We also get a lot of state funding as well to operate the program. So the SBA disaster team is upstairs currently in the BRC. They call it their Business Resource Center Disaster Team in the BRC, which makes sense. And they're there, the four-person staff, I believe, working there, having business clients come in and visit with them on the SBA disaster programs, which includes disaster loans, and then long-term EIDL loans, which are economic injury disaster loans. So the business disaster loans are just to help pay for stuff that's lost, and get them up to speed, and it's quicker. The deadline is September 4th on that. And the EIDL loans, the economic injury loans, are more long-term to help them pay for obligations as they come due. And those are usually maybe over 30 years, extended payments over 30 years. And both of them are low interest rates. And I have some handouts over there that Nora has if you need to look at any of those. So also there's a FEMA rep there, because many of these businesses have, as was said, they have homes, and their employees have homes, and friends have homes, so the FEMA rep can help take care of housing issues there too. And so they're ready to go. So we're downstairs. One of the things that we do to help the SBA disaster team is, in many cases, there's documents that are required, information required, and we help the business owner understand what that is and help them get those documents together, and just overall help them understand the process better. So we're downstairs, and it makes it easy. So, and we appreciate our role in being downstairs, and have been for 13 years or so. So appreciate COSA-DC allowing us to be there. Any questions that I could answer about the? Okay. So the SBA provides loans, low interest, long-term loans, and can bridge the gap too between what FEMA can provide, maybe what COSA-DC can provide in terms of loans.
Perfect. Thank you,
Thank
Dave.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
So this item, can I have another? Dave, I know. Dave, Michael ran off the first one, Dave ran off. So again, this item is to authorize this activity because we don't have the authority to extend it.
So do we need to make two motions here? Is there, you'd mentioned maybe going forward, having the ability to temporarily house folks between meetings?
Now, I think that would be later. This one's specific to the emergency response, but I think
Okay.
we would contemplate other types of scenarios in the other.
The key for us is to try to be flexible and let our partners in there if they need to be.
Yeah.
And if it's going to go long, we want authority at least to let them in and not hold them off until we have a board meeting. So I guess the answer is SBA for this time, and we'll try to bring something back that
Okay.
gives that temporary authorization.
Any other questions, comments? Entertain motion?
Second.
We've got a motion by Director Lassiter, second by Dr. Rodriguez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Might as well stay there. Consider, moving to item D, consider approving the first addendum to housing study contract by and between the City of San Angelo Development Corporation and Interdirect USA Community Development Strategies for Professional Services to prepare an update to the 2019 San Angelo Rental Housing Study award on September 25th, 2024, in the amount not to exceed $7,250. The amendment to include impact analysis of the recent July 4th flood disaster on affordable housing and in-person presentation of the final report, authorizing the board president to negotiate and execute all related documents and recommending ratification by City Council.
Good morning, Michael Dane again. We spoke with the person who is actually prepared our study, Michael Pratz. We got him on the phone, said, Michael, we had this flood. We suspect it's going to alter what you would say. We've lost. He said, absolutely. He said it completely changes to the extent that the majority of those damaged residences are in a low strata. It absolutely will have an impact on that strata. Give us a quote to prepare an addendum to update however you would normally do that based on this recent experience. So the quote to prepare that update and then come present the study to us is $7,250. We think it's appropriate. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was part of a meeting where a local realtor and a developer and some key people at the city met and talked about the difficulty for privateers to develop, to build and sell affordable housing. He said he was struggling to build anything under $250,000, and that sounded like a lot of money. I think that this project or this topic could have legs beyond the current crisis. We may need to, get over the hump associated with this activity and then take a serious look. I'm not sure how we do that, but take a serious look at how do we get where you can build a 1,300 square foot house for $200,000. So they talked about lots of reasons why it appeared prices were up. It wasn't entirely the city. And so, that was the first thing. What if we waive fees? That's not all of it. And so, so I think having a solid foundation of a reliable study that we can begin the conversations with, I think will serve us well. And so we would recommend approval of that update.
You mentioned Mr. Pratt's coming in to present his findings. Has he provided a timeline for when that might take place?
He said depending on the availability of the information, he could be here at the next meeting.
That would be fantastic.
It would be.
So
He's
soon.
right. And
Okay.
other than that, it could be September.
Yeah.
So, we thought that was probably appropriate. We're probably going to be busy with short-term responses, and
Yeah. That's great.
Any other questions, comments? Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Director Stribling. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Director Rodriguez. No public comment on this, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
that item, because we're spending more money on it, will go to council for ratification. All these will go to council for ratification.
Appreciate that. So the next item is follow-up in administrative issues. Do we have any future agenda items anyone would like to add?
Well, so on the subject of the budget, will that get amended and then we'll reapprove it next time? Like this $2 million needs to get in there somehow, right?
Tina will handle that if yes, that will have to,
We still have time? Okay.
because that's more than we have in future projects. We'll have to pull it from fund balance. That'll go to council also, right? But that'll all occur inside that 60-day window.
All right, since we have no other future agenda items or any other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Got a first, got a second?
I'll second.
Got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.